great support for me since the very first start of my teaching at Forest Glen. And even though I was an experienced teacher before and I had many years of experience, when I first got to Forest Glen, there were many things that I didn't know. And she was also very supportive. She was always there for me. I could call her for anything I needed, and she would come to my classroom and help me out. And she guided me along the way. I don't know what I could have done without Vicky.
Knowledge. She has been in this building since school started, so she knows the history. She knows what can go wrong, what won't go wrong, what can be fixed. She knows who's been here before. She has a way of knowing everything, how to fix any problem.
But she's a great coach, an excellent coach for the school, and she's gonna be missed very much. But I'm also happy for her because now she gets to spend time with her grandson. So yeah, she'll be missed.
All right, I have been in education 37 years. This is the 37th year. I graduated from Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana back in 1983.
Wow.
And then I got my first teaching job that very same year, 1983, in Indianapolis Public Schools. There I taught 4th grade, 5th grade, and 6th grade for 11 years. That was very different for me because that was a completely urban setting. I had grown up in more of a rural setting. But in that urban setting, I think I learned to teach. Those were 11 years that I wouldn't change for anything. Yes, but they were hard. They were hard years, but I had a great mentor who really helped me. So after 11 years in IPS, then I came here to Forest Glen. I was lucky enough to come here when it opened. The very first year I was hired, my principal in IPS happened to be the first principal here. So I was lucky that she was able to hire me here. And when I began here, I was a 4th grade teacher for several years. Then I moved into 5th grade for a while. And then they took 6th grade, moved 6th grade from the middle school down to the elementary school. So I moved into 6th grade and was 6th grade about 7 years here. And then 5 years ago, we had an opportunity to have a coaching position. And Senor Lalu, who's now our principal, talked to me a lot about the coaching position and asked that I moved into that area. So that was really different for me. So I've been in this position doing coaching, so I'm working more with adults for the last 5 years. So that's kind of the whole big 37-year picture. It's very challenging because adults, for one thing, they want help, but on the other hand, sometimes it's hard to accept that, oh, you think what I'm doing is maybe not the way that I ought to be doing it. And so sometimes people say, oh, I welcome help, I want help, but that's not always the case.
It's difficult for them to be flexible.
Yes, and sometimes the opposite is true though. There are people that just welcome me in, they can't wait to have feedback, they want to make changes, and I love that. And that's the majority of the people. I loved school. And by school, I mean every bit of school. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I loved reading. I liked being there. I'm old enough that I can remember when the teachers gave us these white papers that were mimeographed with the purple ink, and you picked them up and you smelled them. Oh, and it smelled so good. And that was just school, and I loved it. And from the time I was about in 2nd grade, I said, I want to be a teacher, and that's all I ever said I wanted to be. My stepfather was also a teacher. He was at a higher level in the high school, so I also spent a lot of my time when I was growing up going to school with him. He was a football coach, and I'd hang out at school afterwards. You know, so it was school during the day, school in the summers, going in with my dad.
So you had that perspective from him.
I loved school, and I never thought about doing anything else, not one time. So there have been times, especially when you have a bad day and you think, oh, maybe I didn't make the right choice. But if I think now what I would like to do if I could would be to be a journalist. I would love to anchor the evening news. I would like to be the person that reads the news. I don't know if I want to do what you do necessarily and interview people, not the talk show kind of journalist, but just the person that's on the news. Yeah, inform, giving the news to people. Teachers do so much, and I think a lot of people don't realize all the things that teachers do. So the definition, first of all, would be really, really long. But teacher is the person who wants to help children become successful later in life. We are the people that build the foundation. We help the children learn to read, and then after they learn to read, we help them read to learn. But in addition to those things, because I think that's the big things, reading and writing and them being able to express themselves. But we also teach them how to get along with one another. And that's a huge part of what we're doing. First of all, you have to love children. Even if you are a high school teacher, you have to love children. You have to want to be around them. I think you also have to be passionate about what you're going to teach. Like if you're going to be a reading teacher, you need to really be passionate about reading, and you need to be ongoing with your learning. You need to be a lifelong learner because things change. And so the way that we teach is going to change. Kids change. So you have to be a teacher, you have to be open to constantly learning. One thing we have figured out is we are never going to get this job right because there's never one right way. We keep changing and looking for what's the best way now, but then kids change and things change and we have to look for the next thing. So you have to be willing to be a lifelong learner to do this job. You also have to be willing to give more than a 40-hour work week in this job. You cannot get this job done in a 9 to 5 kind of thing.
Normal shift.
No, there is so much that you have to do because you have to be able to plan ahead. You have to know where you're going, what you're going to do. You have to be organized. You have to keep track of communication with parents and have I taught this standard? When did I teach this standard last? I'm going to review it. So you have to be super organized and willing to put in the time that it's going to take to be successful at teaching.
Would you say it's a lifestyle being a teacher?
It is. It's not a job. It's a career. I mean, there are a lot of those moments, actually. It's hard to narrow down to one, but some of the most special moments are when you get a note from a student. A note from a student that just thanks you for something that you've done or says you've made a difference, or you run into someone at a restaurant that you taught 15 years ago and they say,
I'm a doctor.
Yeah, what they're doing now and that you made a difference in my life. I think that's really huge. I had a student a few years ago, and she's actually was about 38 years old when she contacted me. And the school that I had worked in the inner city had a reunion, and I wasn't aware of that. I didn't know. I didn't go. Their Facebook and that kind of thing was just getting started. I'm sure I wasn't on Facebook, but she found me somehow. And like someone who reached out to me that many years later to say, why weren't you there? I wanted you to be there. I wanted to see you.
Wow.
That was really special. And Indianapolis Power and Light used to give out these Golden Apple Awards. And I had been nominated, I think, by my administrator, and then you complete some materials. And I won that award. And when I won that award, I was treated so special, like I got to go to this banquet and they called us up and they gave us all this golden apple, and just I got some letters from senators and different things. I just felt so appreciated. It was like, oh, I'm being recognized for what I've done. I used to say kids are kids, and the kids haven't changed that much, but I can't say that anymore. I think it's due to video games and social media. And it's not just the kids being on the video games and the social media, but it's their parents. Because I think it's changed the way we parent. For one thing, I think a lot of the parents now, some people call them helicopter parents, where they're so into what their kids are doing, and they just want to control every single thing the kids are doing, and they don't want their kids to fail. They just watch everything. And I think a lot of that is because what we see on social media we show the wonderful things our kids do as parents, and then other parents see that, wow, their kids are awesome. My kids have to be that awesome. And I have to watch and make sure that they have the best teacher and that they're doing the very best they can. And I think there's a lot of pressure. And I think in some ways that's a little bit harmful to kids. We don't sometimes let them make mistakes and let them figure out
Be kids.
Be kids. And kids today are so used to, they've never known what it's like to not have a cell phone or not have television or video games and things at home. So they're used to being entertained all the time.
Yeah.
And if they're not being entertained, sometimes they don't quite know what to do with themselves. The technology, as on one hand when I talk about problems that I see with technology, but on the other hand from the teacher side of things, the technology is incredible. To me, the greatest piece of technology that I think changed teaching the most for the better is when we got smart boards. I mean, what we can do with the smart board, how we can just show things so quickly to students, and it's big and it's neat and it catches their attention. That has been incredible.
Before, we just thought that everybody learns the same way.
Right.
So now we are aware that there's so much diversity in the students.
And when you mention that, that makes me think of the way the kids learn. There have been so many things I've learned over the years, and one of the things we used to talk about is multiple intelligences. Some kids are smart in art, other people are smart in music, some people are smart working with their hands. So for a long time, that was a big focus of what we did. How do we present lessons? Are we presenting things to all of the different intelligences that kids have? We look at different races and how we think different people learn, and that's something early on that we didn't talk a lot about, that I think that over the years we have become aware of. And now being at a school of Spanish immersion, and we're looking at so many of our students are coming in as native Spanish speakers, and we're looking at how can they keep that, because that's a gift. Speaking two languages is a gift. We don't want to say forget about your Spanish. We want you to be great with your Spanish, and we want you to be great with your English. And that hasn't always been the case. I mean, I've been lucky here to be in part of the Spanish immersion school for 26 years. But even when we started, only half of our school was the immersion program. People were still testing us out, figuring out if that's what they wanted to do. But over the years, as people have learned about us, then it's grown to that's our whole school. And we know that there's a lot of research to support that our students' brains are changing because of the fact that they know these two languages. Yeah. I like to be busy. That's just who I am. And so being able to go from here to there to here, that's what I like. And I feel greatly rewarded. At the end of the day, I have to know that I accomplished something. Mm-hmm. And if I don't feel like I helped somebody in some way, a teacher, I helped them do this, organize this, gave them an idea that is going to make better, then I feel good about how my day went. Mm-hmm. If I don't have that experience, I actually go home feeling a little bit like, I don't know that I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. And I have my schedule in such a way that it's not so rigid, because most people know if they call me on the phone and they say, I have a question, can you come down? Yes, I can. I try to make that a priority. I'm gonna be right there for you, and I like that I have that freedom in my schedule that I can do that. As far as personal life, to be really honest with you, I don't do as much at home in the evenings anymore. It depends on what I'm working on. I spend a lot of my time also researching. Like, teachers don't always have time to look up things, and so I'll hear about something and I'll do some research on it and think about how I can
improve or learn.
Yeah, or help, a teacher implement this in their classroom. Or they ask me about something, I'll be like, I don't know, but I'll go find it. I'll look for that information. Or my husband laughs at me because I also am a shopper, and I love to go shopping for clothes. And if he's ever with me, which I try not to have happen, but if he's there, he'll see that I find something I like, and he's like, well, let's go. No, because I'm not done. I like this one, but you know what? There still might be one that's even better than this. I have to keep looking. And that's kind of how I am with...
It's part of your personality.
With school, right. And so even though there may be things in school that I think we're doing well, I'm going to always look for how can we do it even better. I'm actually reaching retirement age. Yeah. And I'm actually really considering retirement. That's going to be in my near future. I have really enjoyed my 37 years, but I have grandchildren, and I really love spending time with them.
Enjoy them.
And I feel like I'm reaching that point where I want to simplify my life a little bit. Even when I leave this environment, I'm going to keep working because I'm too young to not do something. I want to do something, but I'm kind of starting to think about what else might I do? What else would I be good at? And I considered all kinds of things. Maybe I'm going to work at a bank. I thought about doing that. I mean, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do, and a lot of people say, well, why don't you try and go into consulting?
Start your journal.
Or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's any way I can get into any kind of journalism or something like that at this time. But I want to challenge myself with maybe another 5 years of something a little bit different. It's a hard career, but it's also rewarding because you see the difference. Kids come to you not being able to read. They leave, learn, they know how to read. Or they couldn't write an essay, and you taught them. Now they can write an essay, and that is so rewarding. The other thing that's really cool about teaching, you start over every year. And there are not very many careers that can be so forgiving. So we all, I think, look back at our first couple of years teaching and go, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, that wasn't my best. But you get to start over every year. And if you have a hard year and you tried something new in your class and it didn't really work, you try something different the next year. But if you have any doubts, I think if you have doubts, then maybe it isn't for you, because it's not a profession.
Maybe you can work in something related, but not.
Right. It's not a profession that you're doing because you're going to make a lot of money at it. It has to be something it's a calling. That almost sounds cliche, but it's true. You have to really want to do it. And if you do, then you will like it. And some days with coaching, I think, I wish I was teaching again. And when I really feel that way is when I'm in the room with the kids and I see them getting something and learning something, and I just think that's so much fun to teach them and see them.
It's your passion. Mm-hmm. I can see it on your face when you talk about it. You just your face change. So it's part of you.
Yeah.
So I'm so grateful for you giving me this opportunity to interview and know a little more about you. I know all the people that are gonna see this interview are going to learn a lot, as I'm doing now learning from you. So Thank you for this interview. I hope you continue your dreams and your career and everything that you want to accomplish. And a lot of blessings.
Well, thank you. I'm very honored that you chose me to do this.
Thank you.
I really,
You deserve
really
it.
am.
You
Thank
deserve
so
it.
much.
Si tú o alguien que conoces tiene una historia maravillosa para compartir, comunícate conmigo, pues te quiero conocer. Además, suscríbete a mi canal de YouTube y sígueme a través de todas mis redes sociales. Esto ha sido Tal Como Soy. Hasta la próxima.